Jai Hind, dear children. Last class we discussed about the first section of the political parties, in which we studied about the need of political party in a democratic country. Then are the three main components of political parties, the meaning of the term partisanship, then about the functions of political parties, then we studied about the major reasons for which political parties become a necessity in our society. Then about the three types of party system existed in the world, like the one party system or mono party system or single party system. Then the second one is a two party system or bi-party system. Then the third one, that is the multi-party system. Then we studied in detail about each one of the party system, its main features, and also about its advantages and disadvantages. Then we studied why India, even though it is a diverse country, adopt the multi-party system and what were the reasons for that. Today we are going to study about the types of political parties on the basis of its presence and proportion of votes and seats. At the same time, democracy that follow a federal system all over the world tend to have two kinds of political parties. They are national parties and state parties. So next we are going to study about the division of parties on the basis of its presence and proportion of votes and seats. Before going directly into the topic about the difference between the political parties as national parties and state parties, first we want to know how a political party was recognized as national parties and state parties by the Election Commission of India. So, every party in the country has to register with the Election Commission. While the Commission treats all parties equally, it offers some special facilities to large and established parties. The Election Commission has laid down detailed criteria for the proportion of votes and seats that a party must get in order to be a recognized party. So once again, every party in the country has to register with the Election Commission. While the Commission treats all parties equally, it offers some special facilities to large and established parties. And the Election Commission also laid down detailed criteria of the proportion of votes and seats that a party must get in order to be a recognized party. How a party becomes a national party or a state or regional parties. It is all under the control and supervision of the Election Commission of India, because it is the Election Commission who declares some parties as national parties and given them reserved symbols, and some parties as state parties or regional parties. So those parties that secure at least 6% of the total votes in the Lok Sabha elections or Assembly elections in 4 states and win at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha is recognized as national party. So once again, those parties that secure at least 6% of the total votes in the Lok Sabha election or Assembly election in 4 states and win at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha is recognized as a national party, and they are given those recognized national symbols also. And a party that secure at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as a state party. So, a party that secures at least 6% of total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as a state party by the Election Commission. Now we are going to study in detail about some of the main features and differences of national parties and state parties or regional parties. we are going to study in detail about the national parties of India. So, what is a national party that we are going to study first? National parties or national political parties have units in the various states. They follow the same policies, programs, and strategy that is decided at the national level. So, once again, national parties or national political parties have units in the various states and they follow the same policies, programs, and strategy that is decided at the national level. And these national parties have influence all over the country and they deal mainly with national problems. So, national parties have influence all over the country and they deal mainly with national problems. National parties have their presence in many states. So, what is the main criteria to become a party as a national party? Those parties that secure at least 6% of the total votes in the Lok Sabha election or assembly elections in 4 states and wins at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha is recognized as a national party. So once again, a party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in the Lok Sabha election or assembly election in 4 states and wins at least 4 seats in the Lok Sabha is recognized as a national party. In India, we are having 7 major national parties or recognized political parties. They are Indian National Congress or INC, Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP, Bahujan Samaj Party BSP, All India Trinamool Congress AITC, Communist Party of India CPI, Communist Party of India Marxist CPIM, then the National Congress Party or NCP. So once again, we are having 7 major political parties or national political parties or recognized national political parties in India. They are Indian National Congress or INC, then Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, Bahujan Samaj Party BSP, All India Trinamool Congress AITC, Communist Party of India CPI, Communist Party of India Marxist CPIM, then National List Congress Party or NCP. So once again, Nationalist Congress Party or NCP. Next, we are going to study in detail about the regional parties or the state political parties in India. So, what is a regional party or a state party? A regional party or a state party is a type of party that is present only in some states. So once again, a regional party or a state party is a type of party that is present only in some states. And the regional parties have influenced some limited regions or states also. They are more concerned with the problems and demands of a particular region only. So, once again, the regional parties have influence to some limited regions or states and they are more concerned with the problems and demands of the particular regions only. So, regional parties are usually limited to their own regions only. So, once again, regional parties are usually limited to their own regions only. A party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as state party or regional party. So, which type of party or what is the criteria for recognizing a party as a state party or regional party? A party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as a state party or a regional party. In India, we are having several regional parties or state parties, but there are 7 most famous among these regional parties or state parties. They are Samajwadi Party, Samada Party, Rashtriya Janata Dal, Biju Janata Dal, Sikkim Democratic Front, Mizo National Front, and Telangana Rashtra Samadi. So once again, there are 7 most famous regional parties or state parties in India. They are Samajwadi Party, Samada Party, Rashtriya Janata Dal, Biju Janata Dal, Sikkim Democratic Front, Mizo National Front, and Telangana Rashtra Samadi. So now we are going to study about the 7 main national political parties of India in a detail. So first, according to your textbook, the first one is All India Trinamool Congress, AITC. This party was formed under the leadership of Mamata Banerjee in 1st January 1998. AITC was a Indian national political party, mostly active in West Bengal. And Mamata Banerjee, who was a member of the Congress party for over 26 years, formed her own party in West Bengal. And the main ideology of this party is anti-communalism, Bengali nationalism, and populism. So once again, the main ideology of this All India Trinamool Congress AITC was anti-communalism, Bengali nationalism, and populism. It also committed to secularism and federalism. Then the party's symbol, the main symbol of the party was grass and flowers. So what is the party symbol is flowers and grass, or she call it in Hindi as Khora Khas Fool. Then the slogan Ma Madi Manush, that means mother, motherland, and people, coined by Mamata Banerjee, became very popular in West Bengal during 2011 assembly election. And her party got victory in almost all of the reserved constituencies only with the help of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And this AITC was recognized as a national party in India in 2016. And it has a presence in Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, and Tripura also. And in the general election held in 2014, it got around 3.84% votes and won 34 seats, making it the 4th largest party in the Lok Sabha in 2014 election. The second party we want to study among the national political parties of India was the Bahujan Samaj Party, or BSP. So the Bahujan Samaj Party was formed under the leadership of Kanshi Ram in 14th April 1984. And this BSP was considered as the 3rd largest national political party in India. And the main ideology of this BSP was social transformation and economic emancipation of the Bahujan Samaj. That means Bahujan, that group consists of the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBCs, and other religious minorities. Their social transformation and economic emancipation is the main ideology of this Bahujan Samaj Party. Then the BSP has an elephant as its election symbol. So the election symbol of this BSP party was elephant. Then the party's principal concern is to secure the interest and welfare of the Dalits, Adivasis, OBC, and religious minorities. So the party's principal concern, what is the party's principal concern, is to secure and represent the power of the Bahujan Samaj, which includes Dalits, that means Dalits, Adivasi, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, then other backward caste, and the religious minorities. Then draws inspiration from the ideas and teachings of Sahu Maharaj, Mahatma Phule, Periyar Ramaswamy Naikar, and Baba Sahib Ambedkar. This party stands for the cause of securing the interest and welfare of the depressed class in the society. This Bahujan Samaj Party, it has its main base in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and it is also given importance in the states like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, Delhi, and Punjab. Then formed government in Uttar Pradesh several times by taking the support of different parties at different times. And in the Lok Sabha election held in 2014, it polled about 4% vote, but it did not secure seat in the Lok Sabha. So, a party that gives a lot of importance to the depressed class in the society is the Bahujan Samaj Party, formed by Kanshiram in 14th April 1984. And their symbol was elephant. And the main ideology behind this party was social transformation and economic emancipation of the Bahujan Samaj in the society. Next, we want to study about the Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP. So, before going directly into this Bharatiya Janata Party or BJP, first we want to know the history, how it formed. Then it will be very clear to you. So, the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, BJS, was an Indian right-wing political party that existed from 1951 to 1977 under the leadership of Shyam Prasad Mukherjee, and it was the political arm of Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh (RSS), a Hindu nationalist volunteer organization. In 1977, it merged with several other parties opposed to the Indian National Congress and formed the Janata Party. But in 1980, Jana Sangh faction broke away from the Janata Party and formed Bharatiya Janata Party in 6th April 1980 under the leadership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Lal Krishna Advani or LK Advani. In this way, you want to understand that our Bharatiya Janata Party, that means the BJP, was formed in India. And the main ideology of this BJP or Bharatiya Janata Party was Hindu nationalism, Hindutva, integral humanism, national conservatism, and economic nationalism. So, the main ideology of the Bharatiya Janata Party was Hindutva nationalism, Hindutva, integral humanism, national conservatism, and economic nationalism. And the main economic election symbol of BJP or the main symbol of BJP is a lotus. And this party, it expresses its commitment to Hindutva, and its policy has historically reflected Hindu nationalist positions. Then this BJP, they want full integral and political integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India, a uniform civil code for all people living in the country, irrespective of religion, and ban on religious conversions also. So, another main idea or objective of this BJP is that they want full territorial and political integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India. Then to have a uniform civil code for all people living in the country, irrespective of religion, and also ban on religious conversion. Its support base increased substantially from 1990s. Earlier limited to north and west and to urban areas. Then the party expanded its support in the south, then east and northeast, and to the rural areas also. Came to power in 1998 as the leader of NDA, that is National Democratic Alliance. So here we want to know what is NDA or what is a National Democratic Alliance. It was founded in May 1998 and it is an Indian political alliance made up of central right and right-wing political parties and led by BJP. It controls that means just now it controls Indian central government as well as the government of 18 Indian states. And this BJP emerged as the largest party with 282 members in the 2014 Lok Sabha election. Currently leads the ruling NDA government at the center. The next national party we want to study is the Communist Party of India, CPI. So once again, the next party we want to study is the Communist Party of India, CPI. It was formed in 25th December 1925. And the main founders, there are 12 main founders of these. The most important three were M.N. Roy, Abhani Mukherjee and Charu Majumdar. So the main founders of this CPI party, that means the Communist Party of India, there were 12 main founders of these. The most important among the three were the M.N. Roy, Abhani Mukherjee and Charu Majumdar. And the election symbol of the CPI is a sickle and spike of paddy. So once again, the election symbol of CPI is a sickle and spike of paddy. Then the main ideology of the Communist Party of India is communalism and Marxism-Leninism. So once again, the ideology of Communist Party of India is communalism, Marxism-Leninism, and they also believed in secularism and democracy. But they were always against the forces of sectionism. They are always against the forces of sectionism. Then this Communist Party of India, they accepts parliamentary democracy as a means of promoting the interest of the working class, farmers and the poor. And became weak after the split in 1964. The split was as a result of the culmination of decades of tensions and factional infightings. As a result of all this, in 1964, the Communist Party of India was divided into two as Communist Party of India CPI and Communist Party of India Marxist CPIM. And this CPI, Communist Party of India, have significant presence in the states of Kerala, West Bengal, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. But its support base had gradually declined over the years and secured less than 1% votes and one seat in 2014 Lok Sabha elections. Then advocates the coming together of all left parties to build a strong left front. That was the main advocating ideas of this CPI. That means it wishes the coming together of all left parties to build a strong left front. Another party or another national political party we want to study is Communist Party of India Marxist, which was founded in 7th November 1964 under the leadership of EMS Namboodiripad, Harkishan Singh, Suljit, A.K. Gopalan, then many other famous leaders also. And the election symbol of the CPIM is hammer, sickle and star. And the main ideology of this CPIM is communism. And they also believed in Marxism, Leninism also. They also support socialism, secularism and democracy. And the CPIM accepts democratic election as a useful and helpful means for securing the objective of socio-economic justice in India. Because the CPIM, the main objective is to help the working class in the society. And the CPIM, it was strong in states like West Bengal, Kerala and Tripura, especially among the poor, factory workers, farmers, agricultural laborers and many other sections, poor sections of the society. Then they are critical of the new economic policies that allow free flow of foreign capital and goods into the country. So the CPIM, they were always against the current new economic policies that allow free flow of foreign capital and goods into the country. Was in power in West Bengal without any break for 34 years. In 2014 Lok Sabha election, it won about 3% of votes and 9 seats. So the next, one of the oldest party in the world and the most important national party also is the Indian National Congress or INC, popularly known as the Congress Party. It was formed in 28 December 1885 under the leadership of Alan Octavian Hume, that is A.O. Hume, W.Z. Banerjee, Surendranath, Dadabhai Naoroji and Firoz Shah Mehta and many other great famous leaders. And the symbol, the election symbol of this International Congress is the image of right hand with its palm facing front and its fingers pressed together. So the election symbol of INC was the image of right hand with its palm facing front and its fingers pressed together. The first and the foremost major objective of INC was to promote national building process in India, to promote and consolidate the feeling of national unity also. So, the first and foremost major objective of INC was to promote national building process in India and to promote and consolidate the feeling of national unity. The main ideology of this INC International Congress was social democracy, social liberalism, civic nationalism and secularism. So once again, the main ideology of this International Congress is social democracy, social liberalism, civic nationalism and secularism. Then this International Congress, it experienced many splits also, formed a dominant role in Indian politics at the national and state level for several decades after India's independence. Then, under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, the party sought to build a modern secular democratic republic in India. Ruling party at the center till 1977, and then from 1980 to 1989 it is also under rule in our center. But after 1989 its support declined, but it continued to be present throughout the country, cutting across social divisions. A centrist party, neither rightist nor leftist, its ideological orientation. The party exposes secularism and welfare of the weaker section of minorities. So the International Congress, it is one of the oldest parties in the world. At the same time, it is also famous as a centrist party. It is always tried to have secularism and to help the weaker section of the society. Supports new economic reforms but with a human face. Then the leader of the United Progressive Alliance, UPA. So here we want to know what is a United Progressive Alliance. It is a coalition of central left political parties in India formed after the 2004 general election. The largest member of the UPA alliance is the Indian National Congress. Currently it is the principal opposition party in the Lok Sabha. Another important nationalist political party we want to study is the Nationalist Congress Party or NCP. It was formed in 25th May 1999 under the leadership of Sharad Pawar, Tariq Anwar and P.A. Sangma. After they were expelled from the Indian National Congress on 20th May 1999 for disputing the right of Italian-born Sonia Gandhi to lead the party. These three famous leaders, they formed another party. It is known as the Nationalist Congress Party. And Sharad Pawar became the president of NCP when it was formed. And the election symbol of NCP was analog clock. The clock is drawn in blue and has two legs and an alarm button. So once again, the election symbol of this NCP was analog clock. The clock was drawn in blue and it has two legs and an alarm button. The main ideology of NCP was liberalism, and it has many importance also because it give importance to democracy, Gandhian secularism, equity, social justice, federalism. So there's NCP, they also give importance to other great ideas like democracy, Gandhian secularism, equality, social justice and federalism. And this NCP members, they want high office in government be confined to natural born citizens of the country. That was the main reason why they formed a split in the Congress party also. So the main members of this party, that means Sharad Pawar, Tariq Anwar and P.A. Sangma, they are of the opinion that high office in government in India be confined to natural born citizens of India. A major party in Maharashtra and has a significant presence in Meghalaya, Manipur and Assam. A coalition partner in the state of Maharashtra in alliance with the Congress. And since 2004, this NCP was a member of the United Progressive Alliance or UPA. Next, we want to study about the regional parties or state parties. So other than the 7 main national political parties, most of the major parties of the country are classified by the Election Commission as state parties. So in which criteria the Election Commission recognize the parties as state parties or regional parties? A party that secures at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as state party or a regional party. So once again, it's the Election Commission who recognize the party as state parties or regional parties, and those parties that secures at least 6% of the total votes in an election to the Legislative Assembly of a state and wins at least 2 seats is recognized as state parties or regional parties. Then what is the importance of these regional parties or state parties along with the national parties in India? India as a democracy has the multi-party system in place, which means there are several political parties competing for power. Apart from the national parties, each state has their own local political parties that rule and compete in their region. In India, the multi-party system has many political consequences also. In the event of an election, in order to form a government, a party should have a certain number of votes to gain the majority. But this need not happen just now. And there the majority party has to join hands with a regional party in order to form government. This is where the importance of the smaller regional parties comes into play. This situation is applicable not only to the center but also in the state politics with the help of a coalition government. This means 2 regional parties join hands to form the government in the state. And the regional parties have grown in the last 3 decades. And these regional parties need not be regional in their ideology or outlook. And some of these regional parties are all Indian parties that happen to have succeeded only in some states. Then the number and strength of these regional parties has expanded. This made the Parliament of India politically more and more diverse. No one national party is able to secure on its own a majority in the Lok Sabha election until 2014. As a result, the national parties are compelled to form alliance with state parties. Since 1996, nearly every one of the state parties had got an opportunity to be a part of one or the other national level coalition government. This has contributed to the strengthening of federalism and democracy in our country. The state parties are not having any recognized election party symbol, just like the national political parties in India. Some of these regional parties or state parties are all India parties that happen to have succeeded only in some states. Example for that type of regional parties or state parties are Samajwadi Party. One among these is the Samajwadi Party. Next is the Telangana Rashtra Samiti. TRS. So next one is the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, a famous regional party. Sikkim Democratic Front. Another one is Sikkim Democratic Front. Another one famous regional party or state party is the Mizo National Front. Next one is RJD, Rashtriya Janata Dal. So once again, the next famous regional party or state party is Rashtriya Janata Dal, RJD. Next one is the Biju Janata Dal. The next one is the Samada Party. So these are the famous regional parties or state parties in India. Some of the famous regional parties or state parties in India. Next topic we want to study related to this chapter, political parties, is the challenges to political parties. Since parties are the most visible face of democracy, it is natural that people blame parties for whatever is wrong with the working of democracy. All over the world, people express strong dissatisfaction with the failure of political parties to perform their function well. This is in the case of our India also. Popular dissatisfaction and criticism has focused on 4 problem areas in the working of political parties. Or popular dissatisfaction and criticism has created 4 more challenges to be faced by the political parties in India. And political parties need to face and overcome these challenges in order to remain effective instrument of democracy. So now we are going to study in detail about the 4 main challenges of our democracy. Which were the 4 main challenges faced by the political parties in democracy? They are lack of internal democracy, then no meaningful choice to voters, dynastic succession, and use of money power and muscle power. So once again, which were the 4 main challenges faced by the political parties in a democracy? They were lack of internal democracy, dynastic succession, use of money power and muscle power, and no meaningful choice to voters. The first challenge of the political party is lack of internal democracy within parties that we are going to study in detail. So what were the problems that led to the challenge of the internal democracy within the parties? All over the world, there is a tendency in political parties towards the concentration of power in one or few leaders at the top. And at the same time, the parties do not keep membership registers, they do not hold organizational meetings, and they do not conduct internal elections regularly. So as a result of all these, what happens is that the ordinary members of the party do not get sufficient information on what happens inside the party. They don't know. That means we, the ordinary members of the party, don't know what is going on inside the party. They do not have the means or the connections needed to influence the decisions taken by the top leaders. As a result, the leaders assume greater power to make decisions in the name of the party. They are free to take decisions, the leaders. Since one or few leaders exercise paramount power in the party, those who disagree with the leadership find it difficult to continue in the party. More than loyalty to party principles and policies, personal loyalty to the leader becomes more important. Because of all these reasons, what happens is that those who are very sincere towards the party policies and principles, they were forced to just dismiss from the parties, or they were forced to just give up their party membership also. So these were the problems faced by the political parties as a result of the first challenge. The second challenge faced by the political parties is related to the first one, that is dynastic succession. This dynastic succession is one of the most serious challenges before the political parties. Why? Because most political parties do not practice open and transparent procedures for their functioning that we studied from the first challenge itself. There are few ways for an ordinary worker to rise to the top in a party. But what happens is that in many parties, the top positions are always controlled by members of one family. This practice is unfair to other members of that party because they are not getting a chance to be the top leader. And it's also bad for a democracy because people who do not have adequate experience or popular support come to occupy position of power as a result of this dynastic succession, and it created a lot of problems in our democracy. At the same time, it will create a lot of problems to our country also. This tendency is present in some measures all over the world, including in some of the older democracies also. So this was the one of the another serious challenge faced by the political parties in India. The third main challenge faced by the political parties is about the growing role of money power and muscle power in political parties, especially during elections. So the third main challenge faced by the political parties is the growing role of money power and muscle power in parties, especially during elections. Because parties tend to nominate those candidates who have or can raise lots of money for various purposes related to their party. Rich people and companies who give funds to the parties tend to have influence on the policies and decisions of the party. In some cases, parties support criminals who can win elections also. So the reason criteria is that, or the reason things that we can see in these political parties is that they are giving more importance to these rich people and big companies, and also to the criminals, because they are just giving a lot of support and also money power to these political parties. So Democrats all over the world are worried over the increasing role of rich and big companies in democratic politics, because it created a lot of problems to the proper working of democracy. It will ruin a good democracy. It will ruin the future generation of our citizens, and it will create problems to our country also. So because of all these reasons, Democrats all over the world, they are very much worried about the third challenge. That means the growing role of money power and muscle power in parties, especially during elections. The fourth main challenge faced by the political party is that often parties do not seem to offer a meaningful choice to the voters. So the fourth main challenge is that no meaningful choice to the voters. How this happen? Because in order to offer meaningful choice, parties must be significantly different from each other. In recent years, there has been a decline in the ideological differences among parties in most part of the world. In a country, the differences among all the major parties on the economic policies have reduced. Those who actually want different policies have no option available to them. Sometimes what happens is that people cannot even elect very different leader either because the same set of leaders keep shifting from one party to another. Because of all these reasons, we as a voter is not getting a good choice during the time of elections to cast our vote to a particular party or to a particular candidate. So what happened in recent time is that most of the peoples, they are not willing to cast their votes also, and the voters numbers is also reducing day by day because of all these problems. This was also another great challenge faced by the political parties by not giving any meaningful choice to the voters. Next topic we want to study related to this chapter is how can parties be reformed, or what are the ways to reform political parties. In order to face these challenges, political parties need to be reformed. But if we want to reform the political parties, or do we want to reform the party leaders or the members of the political parties, that we the ordinary citizens want to decide. Because people can replace them but only by another set of party leaders, isn't it? We can replace the leaders if they are creating any problems, and we can just overcome that position with another set of party leaders. If all of them do not wish to reform, how can anyone force them to change, isn't it? So we want to find out any other ways to reform our political parties. That means some of the recent efforts and suggestions in our country to reform political parties and its leaders are taken very seriously, that we are going to study next. What were the efforts and suggestions taken in our country to reform our political parties? So one of the famous effort taken to reform our political party was the Antidefection Law. Because the constitution, they amended defection to prevent elected MLAs and MPs from changing parties. Because this defection, it created a serious problem in our coalition government also. When elected representatives were indulging in defection, that means changing party allegiance. The elected representatives, they are changing from one party to another in order to become ministers of cash rewards. That is known as defection. So our constitution, they amended this defection with the help of the Anti-Defection Law. So as a part of this new law, if any MLA or MP is changing his parties, he or she will lose the seat in the legislature. And this new law has helped bringing down defection. So this was the first effort taken to reform our political parties. The second effort is that it's taken by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court passed an order to reduce the influence of money power and muscle power, that means criminals. So now it is mandatory for every candidate who conducts elections to file an affidavit. What is an affidavit? A signed document submitted to an officer where a person makes a sworn statement regarding her personal information. That means giving detail about his property, his criminal cases pending against him, and his full educational details, everything. So what is an affidavit? A signed document submitted to an officer where a person makes a sworn statement regarding her personal information about giving details about his property, any criminal cases pending against him, or about his education qualifications also. The new system has made a lot of information available to the public about the candidate, but there is no system of check if the information given by the candidate is true. That means there is no system to check whether the whatever information is given by the candidate in the affidavit is right or wrong. So we don't know if it had led to decline in the influence of the rich and the criminals with the help of this affidavit. The third reform was taken by the Election Commission of India. The Election Commission passed an order making it necessary for political parties to hold their organizational elections and file their income tax returns. At the same time, the parties have started doing so, but sometimes it is a mere formality. All this started by the Election Commission to reduce the lack of internal democracy in the political parties. But it is not clear if this step has led to greater internal democracy in political parties. So this is another step taken by the Election Commission to reform political parties. So we already studied the three major reforms taken in our country by different great institutions to reform our political parties. Now we are going to study about another major effective measures taken to reform political parties. The first one is that a law should be made to regulate the internal affairs of political parties. It should be made compulsory for political parties to maintain a register of its members, to follow its own constitution, to act as a judge in case of party disputes, and to hold open elections to the highest post. So, the first reform is that a law should be made to regulate the internal affairs of the political parties. It should be made compulsory that a political party want to maintain register about its members. They want to follow its own constitution. They act as a judge in party disputes, and also they want to hold open elections. Then the second step is that it should be made mandatory for political parties to give minimum number of tickets, about 1/3 to the women candidates. So another step taken is that it should be made mandatory for political parties to give minimum number of tickets, about 1/3 to the women candidates. The next is that there should be state funding of elections. The government should give parties money to support their election expenses. But this support can be given in a way like petrol, paper, telephone, etc. Or it could be given in cash on the basis of votes secured by the party in the last election. It should be mandatory to hold their organization elections also. So the next is that about the state funding of elections. The government, that means the state government, should give parties money to support their election expense. But this should be in the form of petrol, paper or telephone. Or it could be given in cash on the basis of votes secured by the party in the last elections. It should be mandatory for them to hold their organizational elections also. Next one is the people can put pressure on political parties through petitions, publicity and agitations. Parties should reduce the influence of money and criminals. So people can put pressure on political parties through petitions, publicity and agitations. At the same time, the party should reduce the influence of money and criminals. And the party should select candidates for contesting elections who have good record. So the parties, the last step taken by the parties, that they should select candidates for contesting elections who have good record. If a political party is following all these measures, we can reform the political party in a good way, and we can rule our country in a very good way, and we can overcome all the problems faced by a democratic country like India. So just have a quick recall about what we studied in this video. Through this video, we studied about the national parties and the state parties, the difference or the main features of these national parties and state parties, and which were the 7 main national parties in India, like the All India Trinamool Congress, Bahujan Samaj Party BSP, Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, Communist Party of India CPI, Communist Party of India Marxist CPIM, International Congress INC, and the Nationalist Congress Party NCP. In detail, we studied about the election symbols and other ideologies and other principles of all these 7 national political parties. Then we studied about the state parties and which were the main state parties highlighting in our country. Then we studied about the 4 main challenges faced by the political parties in India. Then we studied also about the reforms taken to reform these political parties. My dear children, watch the video very carefully, copy down all the important points and read your textbook 3 or 4 times. Okay? Thank you.